Ryan from LumenTek Electrical out in Blackfalds, Alberta. Also serving Red Deer with electrical services. Hey, guy. How things been going? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been busy.
That's good. Yeah. 'Tis the busy season, right? It's always the suffering season from January to the end of March. And then as soon as the sun starts shining, things get a lot better. You have a story that you were telling me earlier about a handyman that somebody hired to do some electrical. Tee it up and let's get started.
Yeah, we got a call from a customer of ours we had done work for a few years ago. They had a handyman in doing a couple jobs, and one of them was to add a dimmer. So he put the dimmer in, tested it quickly, everything worked, so he left. And then we got a call a couple days later that there was smoke coming out of the walls, and the dimmer was really hot. So I pulled the dimmer out, looked at it, it was all melted. Looked at the switch it was controlling, and quickly added up what all the bulbs were, and it came up to about 740 watts. The dimmer was rated for 150, so they had 3-4 times what the dimmer is rated for on the dimmer, and it was just by chance that they had someone home when the light was on, and it was in their basement, so it easily could have been forgotten about, and that definitely would have started some sort of fire.
Oh my gosh. So fire hazard. Now, what kind of lamps were they using?
They had incandescent bulbs in there. They're like these decorative chandelier fixtures with a bunch of little bulbs in there. They were each 40 watts.
Oh, okay.
A lot of bulbs.
All right. So big chandelier with a bunch of bulbs on it. Do they even make dimmers that are rated for 750 watts?
It was hard to find one. We found a couple that were special order for commercial applications. And we asked the customer, and she was too scared. She didn't want another dimmer. She said, just put a regular switch back in there.
How could this have been avoided?
If they called an electrician that would have looked at what he was hooking up instead of just pull the switch out, put the dimmer in.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, because not, a lot of times electricians don't always look, but you actually had the presence of mind to take a look at what the load was. Yeah. Maybe talk about that a little bit, like why there are rules in the electrical code and what those rules are.
Yeah, well, first rules, you don't hook something up that's not intended to be used for that purpose. And that could have easily solved the problem. And yeah, it's scary because if there was no one home, that definitely would have turned into a fire after leaving it for a while. And that guy probably didn't have insurance for electrical work.
No.
I don't know who would insure someone that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So, lesson learned, handymen are great. I mean, there's a lot of, small jobs that they can do, but electrical probably shouldn't be one. I would say plumbing probably is another. I would probably avoid with that. So you solved the problem for them. And what else occurred as a result of that?
We had to restrip everything in the box, reconnect it all because everything had melted. Luckily, the electrician who wired the house left service loops, and we could pull them in and reconnect everything.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about that a little bit. Service loops. So, when somebody is wiring, let's say you're wiring a basement or wiring a new home and whatnot, we leave an extra loop of wire.
Yeah.
Reason why is that.
Yeah, that or someone drywaller cuts it by accident or anything. It's very handy to have another 6 inches of wire in the wall you can pull down and tie into if you need it.
Exactly. You notice that trouble all the time when people wire their own stuff. They make it guitar string tight and pull it into the box, and you're like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, you saved like $1 of wire on the whole project, and now it's impossible to redo anything.
Impossible to fix it later. Okay, so what else have you been up to?
Working on a couple old houses right now, it's always interesting what you're going to find.
Old houses come with all kinds of lovely hidden things, sawdust in the walls, lath and plaster. So tell us about this old house you're working on.
We did the service change on it. So we took out 3 panels they had in there, all kind of stacked on top of each other. Oh. Put in a new panel, new service, so overhead service from the road, new cables basically from where the cable comes in off the street right to the panel. Turned all 3 panels into one panel. Relabeled the whole house, traced out every circuit. There's a lot of interesting things in there that we're uncovering.
Okay, what did you find?
Found that the guy who did the reno before they sold the house was good at hiding electrical work from the home inspector.
Okay, so are we talking buried boxes or?
I don't know yet. We still have a little bit of work to do with tracing stuff out, but so far we found a bunch of old wiring that had been. It's just as soon as you touch it, the insulation falls off. But they put new plugs on it, new covers, and said they'd updated the electrical. We found a timer switch behind a panel, so that was probably for why the outside lights didn't work, I'd assume.
Oh.
So now that we've
Okay.
pulled that out, tied it in properly, we'll.
Yeah, on the last house that I was in, there was a timed switch that was tied to the receptacle for your block heater. And it wasn't working. I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working. And it was one of those digital timers, so it needed a battery. So the battery had died, which is why the digital timer never worked, which is why the receptacle never worked. Amazing. I like the mechanical ones better.
Yeah,
anyways, so you found some surprise things in the house. What challenges did you have working on that old house?
A lot of it's just a lot of half renos done over the years where they go, it's not that bad, we'll leave it for later and just add one more circuit and stuff like that. And then we get to a point eventually where it's like you just have to start from scratch. Like you can't keep patching the original panel, the original wiring. So we've redone a lot of the stuff in from the street. At least now there's proper breakers that will trip if something does go wrong. Mm-hmm. Before, I don't think any of those would have tripped. We could barely turn them off. Like they were so corroded that the handles would barely move. Yeah, just lots of stuff like that there's just no one cared. They just quickly did it and probably knew they were selling it.
Yeah, get it in there and get it done. And biggest thing, like older homes. So there's challenges when it comes to older homes because they have history. They got things hiding behind the walls. If there's a drop ceiling in the basement, there's stuff hiding there. Then it's like the type of materials. Was it copper or was it aluminum?
It's a lot of copper. It was old enough it was copper, but it was just, everything was back in the days when if you didn't die from a shock, you're an electrician. There's no, I don't think they had inspectors or any kind of code rules. Just if it worked and just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And the way that they wired houses. So talk a little bit about that, how they wired houses differently. You might have to like re-pull a bunch of circuits in this house. So talk a little bit about how they used to wire houses.
They used knob and tube wiring. So it was basically just there's no cable. It's just single conductors. There's no grounds. You just ran hot wire to where you're going and then a neutral from whatever the closest circuit was. Usually they just tied onto that. That got you neutral. So they didn't account for how much current was going to be on those cables. And there's a lot of house fires because of it. Yeah,
a lot of house fires. And that was back when they had old twist-in fuses, right? Yeah. So you'd have maybe 4 or 6 circuits for the entire house.
Yeah.
Right? Not very many. And when they went to the new cabling and actual, circuit breakers, they changed the wiring, but still you're only having like 8 to 10 circuits for the entire house.
Yeah, and the circuits weren't even that reliable, or the breakers weren't that reliable back then either. Like you could easily, like a 15 amp breaker could probably run an oven, which should be a 40 amp, but if it didn't trip, they probably just left it.
So no problems, no fires yet, and then it should be okay. But no, that's not right. Because over time, with the heating up and cooling down and all that, the insulation on the wires gets crispy.
Yeah.
Right. And
brittle and falls off.
Yeah.
There's one that we saw just down the street from that house. The oven, they actually ran like overhead service wire to the oven. So just like what the wire you'd see from the power pole to your house, that's what they ran to power their oven up. Another 40s house. And that was just, it's been like that for 80 years or whatever. And
oh my gosh. Yeah. So many fun things you find in old homes. And what I find is a trick is troubleshooting in older houses. I'm sure you've had to do that a few times.
Quite a few times.
And how do they run the branch circuits?
Yeah, just however they felt like it.
Yeah, they usually start off at a light fixture, right? And then they run down from there. So tell me some stories you've had about that.
We had a house in Tsawwassen, actually, before I moved to Alberta, that we were demoing, had all the circuits off in the breaker, and we went to just cut a wire out. Like we went in, shut every circuit off, pulled the cover off, ticked all the circuits, and there was no power on any of them. So we started cutting wires because they're doing a full rewire essentially. And got to the dishwasher circuit, we cut it, and it sparked everywhere. Like, that's weird. and we tried it again because the pliers are already toast at this point. You might as well to get it to trip. There might be a sub panel that we missed somewhere, and all the like temporary lighting's dimming. You can hear like the whole system just like arcing and stuff, and the cable's just getting shorter and shorter. We're like, that's weird. So we pulled the cover off the main on the electrical. So there's the bottom cover, the top cover, and they just loosened the service connector coming in, stuck a 14.2 under that. And that's what they ran their dishwasher off of probably for, I don't know, 30 years. So there's no circuit for it. You could never shut it off. Even if you shut the main breaker off to the house, it was above that. It was coming off the street.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a new one. Never heard that before.
Yeah, that was scary because we just were like, oh, just try cutting it again. Didn't trip.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's super dangerous. Guys, don't do that. Like literally do not put anything under your main breaker lugs besides what's supposed to be there. That's super dangerous. Any other amazing stories that you've got for us this week?
Not really. It's been, other than those 2 old houses, it's been pretty normal.
Pretty normal. Yeah. Tell us about the project that you've been working on, rewiring the shop.
Yeah, we got a job to rewire a electrical room in a shop. So they're doing a big reno in there. We just did the mechanical room. They had a bunch of other projects going on, but we changed out all their electrical panels in there. And we were finding all sorts of stuff. Like this is another old building from probably the 40s or 50s. Probably had 100 different owners over the years. Like there's so many different company names underneath every sign. It was kind of cool, but we were pulling covers off of stuff to trace out a lot of the circuits, and they were saying temporary repair, August 92. And it's, you could see it was very temporary. Like they just wrapped like I think it was like a split bolt where you have 2 big wires, put essentially like a bolt with a hole in the middle and hold the 2 wires together. And instead of using proper splicing tape, they just used like a jacket off a tech cable and just stuff like that and just taped it on. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff like that.
The temporary fix held. So walk people through an electrical room for a larger building. So what's usually in there?
Surprises most of the time.
Surprises, yes.
Usually you have your main disconnect, so your big service coming in from the street. Easiest way to identify is usually the biggest switch physically. Obviously you want to test it first, but that's usually the fastest way to find it. So you have that, it'll go into a big splitter box. So you have basically bus bars for each different phase. And then from there, they'll have lugs bolted to that. And then that's where your wires go off to your individual disconnects. And then from the individual disconnects, they go out to either panels or to like welders, fans, whatever they're running out there.
Machinery, different things, maybe transformers.
Yeah, there's a couple transformers in there. They have.
So yeah, working in commercial sense is much different than working in a residential sense. Yeah. It's a whole different trade almost, right?
Yeah.
So how many of those have you done, and like what is the process like? So how did this company get a hold of you? And I guess you can name them. And was this in Red Deer or Blackfalds, or where was this?
It was in Red Deer, yeah. So they called us. They were referred to us by another contractor friend. He was doing some sheet metal work for them. So we went in there, basically had to start by pulling every cover off in the electrical room, following every conduit. And this was like a super high ceiling. So trying to follow, there's a group of 10 pipes. You're trying to look and walk through the whole welding shop, trying to find every pipe where it comes down. Most of the time they've just been disconnected, or you'll see someone's just cut a chunk out of the pipe and just run wires in there. And there's all sorts of interesting stuff you see in those older buildings. And we had to trace out, see what was being used, what was obsolete. A lot of it was just like they had labeled in the panel, if it was labeled at all, just like old well, cut off outside. So then you're looking outside trying to find like where if there's a cable sitting out there, it's dangerous. And a lot of the times it's like the building's been re-sided a few times. So it's probably underneath some siding or something. So yeah, we just cap that off and relabel it and leave it. So we did, a lot of the times they'll pipe right into the panel with conduit, and then they'll run their circuits into the breakers. So what we did is, because there's so many obsolete circuits, but we didn't want to cut them off in case in the future someone found it, wanted to reuse it. It was still usable. So we basically conduit out of the new panel into a big like 24 inch by 24 inch junction box. And then we just left everything labeled and rolled up in there that we could find. Some stuff we couldn't find. And we just had previously labeled old well. We're not sure where it is. Nobody here seems to know where it went.
Yeah.
And just said, do not energize. And yeah, then we traced out the circuits we could find, relabel them, re-pull those into the new panel. And they have a shop electrician that works there that was too scared to touch anything in there. He just said like it's everything he opens up scared him more and more, and he just didn't want to touch it.
Now, what voltages are we talking about?
That one was all 120, 208, three-phase. They had a couple transformers going up to 480 volt for running some drill presses and some stuff like that, welder.
So lots of various voltages. You've got multiple panels, disconnects, transformers, machinery, conduits, plugs, all kinds of things that, you know, when it comes to electrical stuff, like you got to know what you're doing when it comes to commercial work and even residential work. Like it's, I think that the statistics are most people die from 120 volt shocks because they're not too scared of it. Yeah. I hate getting shocked. Like it didn't happen very often, but when you do, it's like, I can't stand it. But still, people are always scared of the, 347, 600 volt stuff, or even higher voltages. Because you're instantly dead or on fire, or you wish you were dead, right? Yeah. When it comes to those, but little shocks just stop your heart and you just die. Mm-hmm. So guys, practice safety when you're out there. What would you say to people who have like a machine shop and they're looking for some help? What would you say to them?
Just make sure whoever you're hiring actually knows commercial electrical work. There's a lot of electricians, and they kind of I did most of my apprenticeship doing service work. So we've been in lots of different industrial, commercial, residential, kind of everywhere fixing stuff. So like I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of electricians that have just done construction in a very like niche area. Like they might have just built, like they might have just worked in mining, or they might have just done temporary services or just done new construction homes, and they wouldn't necessarily know what to look for. Like, there's a story from when we were in school. Actually, a guy died from trying to strap a Cat 5 wire to a live bus bar. So like all the overhead cranes in the big shops have their three-phase live copper bus bars running across the shop, and then as the crane slides, it has these little brushes that touch the bus bars, and that's how it gets its power. And I guess this data guy didn't know what it was and just started taping his Cat 5 wire to it and grabbed it, and it was 600 volts, and he died.
Yikes. Yikes.
Stuff like that. You gotta know what you're doing, and it's hard to, if you don't understand it, it's not very easy to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very tricky work and takes a skilled person. And LumenTek Electrical happily does all that kind of work. They do commercial work, light industrial, and residential. You do lots of residential. So guys, if you are in the Blackfalds, Lacombe, Red Deer area, you can call the guys at LumenTek Electrical, and they'll come out and give you a quote and get the job done right.